Great idea to move the two off and perhaps, let entertainment fly and maybe get back to, Mr Murdoch said he's interested in more assets in the newspaper division, both newspapers and digital assets.
Whenever you hear about a spin-off or a merger, the most logical beneficiaries are the investment bankers advising. I think, and you'll often see investment bankers advising on an acquisition and the same bankers advising on a spin-off. And there's always fantastic reasons for both. When there's a merger, there's always these fantastic synergies, and when there's a spin-off, you're unlocking value. Foster South Corp was a perfect example, and Jupiter and Tabcorp's another. In terms of this one, I think what Mark was saying does make a lot of sense. There certainly are benefits in taking away the old school publishing assets from the cable assets and the film assets. There isn't one thing that doesn't make a huge amount of sense though is keeping Foxtel with the publishing, given that so much of the Entertainment Co's assets are cable assets in the United States and Europe.
I'd like, did you feel about this news?
Don't quite agree with what Hans said. I think it's just another pathetic attempt by European buffoons to kick the can down the road and helping out their banker mates who've lent money to the wrong countries and to the wrong people. And this won't help anything. Equity markets are just as stupid. They might react for a day or two, and then they'll realise that companies are valued on future cash flows, not some pathetic attempt of governments trying to kick a can down the road and not own up to their mistakes.
All right,
it certainly doesn't solve anything.
You reckon, in fact, that the banker mates, as you call them, need to take a real haircut on this?
Well, if you look at what Europe's been doing in the last 2 years, it's printing money, and I think the Financial Review had a great graphic just looking at I think it was Financial Review, the inflation rates in some of these European countries. They've got negative growth, but inflation of 9 or 10%. How is that happening? It's because they're printing money. And what that means is the masses of people are worse off, their living standards get reduced, yet those closer to the money printing, which are bankers who have caused these problems, benefit. So to say this is a good thing is laughable. It's not good. It might be good for investors and for bankers, but it's certainly not good for the people and the society.
OK, how would you fix it? I mean, they had to take some moves, as Hans pointed out. I mean, it seemed like everyone could see that the austerity measures alone that Germany wants to very much keep in place are just going to kill those economies and those people as well.
Well, it depends what you call kill. I think we had a discussion maybe a year ago about austerity. Austerity, to what many people is simply living within means. That's not austerity, that's simply common sense. If you have a household
I agree
and
with you
spend
on that,
more than you earn, that's not sustainable. Yet people think economies are sustainable indefinitely with these ridiculous deficits and welfare states that have been run across Europe. And maybe Norway can do it because they've got fantastic oil reserves. But Norway aside, countries like Italy, Spain, Greece, the way they run their economies is not sustainable.
All right,
it's not
so you're backing,
to simply within means.
Yeah, you'd back Angela Merkel.
Oh, Angela Merkel clearly has the right. Angela Merkel's problems are political, but the Germans have a great memory, and they clearly remember what happened in the 20s and the 30s, and they know the problem of rampant money printing and what can go wrong. I know when I was on the show last time, people disagreed, but clearly. Printing money and adding debt is not the solution to problem caused by too much debt. And anybody who can dispute that isn't thinking logically.
All right, Hans Kennedy, what do you think the RBA will do next week?
Oh, I didn't think they'd drop by 50 last time. I don't think they should have, and they did. So I'd be very surprised if they dropped again. The last move seemed to be a desperate attempt to breathe life into some moribund assets like the stock market and the real estate market, which isn't the Reserve Bank's job. And Glenn Stevens, who has been very good, I think has lost the plot in the last few months. There's been, I think, few too many people have been in his ear. But hopefully they make the right decision this time, because last time I think it certainly wasn't the right decision, despite what retailers and politicians might say.
All right.
Yeah, look, I tend to agree with all that. The reality is that the mining sector makes up about 17–18%.
That it could in fact be a property play, because in fact this EB says that it's a UK and Luxembourg property related private equity group. It's based in Newcastle, but in England. But contacts have told Sky News that it could be a play to turn DJs into an online an online e-tail outfit, and redevelop the substantial property assets of David Jones. What do you reckon about that?
It's certainly possible. I've never heard of this private equity firm till today.
No, I don't think many Aussies have.
Yeah, obviously David Jones does has a fair bit of property assets. Obviously, very much what TPG did with Myer. They flogged off their property assets, got rid of some old inventory, started managing it well, and sold to the market just at the right time. Whether you can convert DJs to a digital only, I'd be very sceptical. I'm also a director of several digital businesses. When you don't have digital in your blood, like DJs and Myer don't, it's not a matter of changing it overnight. If you look how much Myer's spending on digital, spending an absolute fortune when you've got companies like AusSale and Catch of the Day who are absolutely smashing them. So it's not a question of simply flicking a switch and being able to convert your sales from bricks and mortar to digital, because the customers are different and the way they buy is different and the value chain's different and the proposition's different.
Yeah,
So,
Well, except that
observe, you know, even different groups of young people, particularly teenagers who might always once have gone down to the mall, down to the high street to look at shops and look in windows and try on. You see them, they're going online and they just think, oh, well, that size probably fits me and anyway I can send it back. They are transferring to online buying.
They are. I guess the example you sort of give, but you didn't mention, is the Iconic, which is Alan Kohler wrote a great piece about it. It's funded by Rocket. But if you look at that, they're absolutely burning money. The way Rocket operates is to invest a huge amount of money in a market, try to get the number one position and then raise capital on that basis. And that's what they're doing with the Iconic. And they're absolutely destroying money. And if David Jones was to do that, they'd be smashed by the market, or Myer was to do that, they'd be smashed by the market. The Iconic's able to do that because it's a different business, a different life cycle. So simply change to a digital business, and Kieran made the point, well, Origin's doing 8-9%. That's still a very small percentage of their complete overall profit, and they've got a fantastic CEO in Sally McDonald. So to compare Origin to DJ, and they're a different business, compare Origin to DJs and Myer isn't quite right. If DJs try to go digital only, they collapse and die. So good luck to them. Good luck to this private equity mob, and good luck to the bankers who are lending them $400 million, and the equity holders.
Exactly. No, there sounds like there's a fair bit of cash. Now, you know, their profit was considered lacklustre. Full year profit was what? It fell over 60%. It's done a capital raising. It seems to be, in many commentators and analysts' view, still trying to work out how to make Franklin's the acquisition work. Adam, what's your view of where they're headed? It's a tough business because they're in the middle of Coles and Woolies too.
Exactly. Oh, extremely tough. And the market dominance of Coles and Woolies is unprecedented worldwide. So you feel for Metcash. They had a good run. They're obviously struggling at the moment. The profit downgrade doesn't help. Groceries generally very defensive, as Kieran I'm sure will agree, the very defensive business usually. So you wouldn't expect a bad result from a defensive business in admittedly a struggling economy. But they're competing against two very, very strong players who are cutting prices and going for market share. And Coles is now very well run, and Woolworths has been well run for 2 decades almost. So it's one of Australia's better industries in terms of management. And as a result, as you said, Metcash really caught in the headwinds there. Yeah.
Kieran, what's your view of we had both the federal and the Victorian government pour money into Alcoa and into Geelong. We've heard about this coming for the last week, or certainly for the last few months since Alcoa said their business down there at Point Henry, the aluminium smelter, was in trouble. What's your view about putting taxpayers' money into this?
Oh, I think it's a disgrace. They should just shut that smelter down. It's sucking off the taxpayer teat for too long. They get massively subsidised electricity as well. So that's another effective payment from the taxpayer to Alcoa. They're a partially foreign-owned company, a cash box here. The directors make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for doing nothing. Just shut it down. Why on earth are we subsidising these dinosaur businesses to save
so you don't want Australia
jobs?
To be in the aluminium smelting business?
I don't want Australian taxpayers to be bankrolling dud businesses. If Alcoa wants to run a business, they can run a business. But why should we be giving discounted electricity and bankrolling their incompetent operations? Let them do it elsewhere.
Kieran Kelly, there's a huge political part of this story.
I couldn't agree with Kieran more. I think he said it perfectly. It's stealing from one set of taxpayers who don't realise that they're being stolen from, and giving to another set who are a powerful lobby group and affect elections, affect politicians being employed effectively. So yeah, Kieran got it 100% right.
But in fact, it's just to perhaps an even smaller group. I mean, yes, it will save some jobs for 2 years, I think it is, and then there'll be a review. But, you know, he said it was to Alcoa shareholders.
Oh, Absolutely. Alcoa shareholders are the ultimate beneficiaries, but it sloshes through workers as well. And they're obviously where the pressure's coming from. The Alcoa shareholders, I can't imagine, are the ones who, while benefiting, aren't the ones who were able to get the taxpayer funds across the line. It would be union pressure and politicians in marginal seats, as Kieran said, who are more than happy to sacrifice taxpayer dollars on atrocious investments.
Yeah, Adam, in our last minute, have you been watching Boral? I mean, their third profit downgrade, in a year? I mean, shareholders must be sort of slightly frustrated.
I don't really feel sorry for Boral shareholders because I wouldn't buy a share in Boral in the first place, because why would you buy in a building company in a housing bubble? So we've been on the show talking about it for years, and housing down record amount of 10% in the last 6 months, which is almost unprecedented in Australia.